चामल ज्ञान पाए ज्ञान नै रोज्ने नयाँ गुड नाइट फ्ल्याश अरु लिक्विड वेपोराइजर भन्दा 2 गुणा बढी प्रभावशाली.
Proud to be associated with Kantipur News.
Good evening, I am April Singh Lama and these are the headlines of the hour. Sagarmatha Sambad marks second day with 9 sessions on green economy and climate justice. Experts urge clean energy expansion to tackle climate challenges. Government proposes alternative development finance to tackle investment gaps. Parliament receives bill to form body for infrastructure investment. Arab leaders convene in Baghdad to demand Gaza ceasefire and a two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Summit condemns Israeli actions, commits $40 million to rebuild Gaza and Lebanon. And IPL resumes after a week-long suspension due to tensions between India and Pakistan. Points likely to be shared between RCB and KKR due to rain. Welcome back. On the second day of the Sagarmatha Sambad, speakers addressed the green economy, disaster prevention and mitigation, climate justice and the future of humanity. Experts have called for simplifying the process of accessing compensation for climate-induced losses and damages, particularly in developing and least developed countries. They have stressed the need to make the mechanism more accessible and efficient to ensure timely support for vulnerable countries. Executive Director of the Loss and Damage Fund emphasized the need for easy access to climate finance to implement necessary programs. He also called on affected countries and civil society to take an active role in ensuring effective response and long-term resilience.
We are in a country of mountains. Certainly, that global solidarity is extremely critical. Now, that global solidarity got us to where we are today. We need to use that global solidarity to maintain the momentum of what made this fund actually a possibility, so that the communities, the governments that push so far to make this possible that we don't actually disappoint them, so we actually deliver on their behalf.
During the discussion, experts voiced concern over the increasing vulnerability of mountainous countries like Nepal to severe weather-related disasters. Key themes addressed green economy, prevention, mitigation, climate justice, and the future of humanity. As part of the ongoing dialogue in Kathmandu, 9 sessions were conducted today across 3 thematic areas. Now, World Bank Vice President for South Asia, Martin Reiser, has said that countries like Nepal deserve climate justice as they are facing disproportionate impacts of climate change. Speaking to Kantipur News during his visit to the Sagarmatha Sambad, he highlighted the importance of investing in climate adaptation and emphasized that Nepal should make better use of its natural and financial resources to build resilience.
First of all, we need to recognize that the problem of climate change is affecting all countries, but some countries like Nepal have contributed very little to climate change. So the call for climate justice is understandable. At the same time, as you mentioned, the changing global context, we are actually seeing the amounts of money allocated to overseas development assistance in the form of grants diminishing. And so I think we also need to be realistic that there is no big sums of money for climate justice at the moment available. So we need to help countries adapt using their own resources and complementing them with the resources available internationally. We're focused on adaptation in countries like Nepal. We want to make sure that people have access to the information, have access to the financing, and have access to the infrastructure that allows them to adjust. But we're also working on mitigation. So Nepal, for example, has a very successful forestry program. There are possibilities for selling carbon credits from reforestation activities in the international carbon market. We're exploring with Nepal how to do that. Nepal has big hydropower resources. That also saves, could provide renewable energy and avoid carbon emissions. It's not just accessing funds, it's using them effectively that leads to development outcomes. And there, I think in Nepal, given that the country only executes a small amount of its own capital budget and our own projects take a long time to implement, that's an area where we need to make more progress. Well, the money that we provide to Nepal comes at highly concessional terms. Actually, you can convert the loans that the IDA provides to Nepal into a loan element and a grant element. And you will find that more than 50% of the resources are actually grant element.
The government has proposed to establish the Alternative Development Finance Mobilization Fund while being unable to secure adequate investment for national needs and development projects. A bill submitted to the Federal Parliament Secretariat calls for an autonomous body to invest in sectors such as energy, electricity transmission, railways, airports and tunnels. Facing challenges in securing investment for development, the government registered a bill on alternative development finance in Parliament on 7th of April 2025. The bill proposes creating an autonomous institution with 51% government ownership and 49% private sector investment. This initiative aims to channel funds into sectors such as energy, industrial zones, smart cities, tourism, infrastructure, and more. Widely used in developed countries, experts suggest adopting this model to revitalize stalled development projects in Nepal.
सोचे अनुसार अथवा चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ जुन किसिमबाट आउँछ भन्ने उ गरेका थियौं त्यो अनुसार आउन सकेन एफडीआई पनि त्यसैगरी सरकारको राजस्व पनि त्यो हिसाबले चाहिँ फन्डिङ गर्न सक्ने हिसाबबाट बढेन त्यसले गर्दाखेरि एउटा अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय अभ्यास पनि भएको र नेपालमा त्यो एकीकृत रूपमा एउटा कोष बनाएर अथवा एउटा मोडलबाट गर्ने हो भने त्यसमा लगानी गर्न चाहनेहरू खास गरेर चाहिँ हाम्रो रेमिटेन्सबाट हुने आम्दानी ठुलो छ रेमिटेन्स पनि केही भाग चाहिँ त्यो एउटा कोषमा आउन सक्छ त्यसैगरी चाहिँ निजी क्षेत्रको पनि कतिपय लगानी त्यहाँ जान सक्छ जस्तो शेयरकै लगानीमा अहिले एउटा कम्पनीको शेयर खुल्यो भने एकदम मारामार पैसा गइराखेको छ भने यदि प्रोडक्टिभ सेक्टरमा एउटा क्षेत्रमा प्रोडक्टिभ पूर्वाधारमा त्यो लगानी हुने हो र त्यो लगानी आकर्षक छ भने त मलाई लाग्छ स्रोत जुट्ने कुरा त सहज छ.
In Nepal, only 17% of the annual budget is allocated to development, with 83% spent on social security programs, salaries, pensions and debt interest. Lawmakers have called for at least 50% of the budget to focus on employment and infrastructure. However, the government argues that growing mandatory obligations make alternative development finance the only viable option for completing ongoing projects. Now, 4 security organizations have been legally assigned responsibilities for the country's internal and external security. The National Security Council Secretariat is the mechanism that performs integrated analysis of potential security risks based on the information and incidents collected by these organizations. However, the government itself has neglected this mechanism, which is meant to provide assessments to the National Security Council by analyzing global developments as well as domestic, political and communal events that could pose security risks.
Citing increased security challenges due to tensions between India and Pakistan, a meeting of the National Security Council was held on 7th of May. The meeting to assess the challenges took place at the Secretariat of the Council. Ironically, the very mechanism where the meeting was held has been consistently ignored by the government. Even in situations where serious security challenges arise or when deployment of the Nepal Army is required, decisions are made in the National Security Council meeting attended by the Prime Minister and the Ministers of Defence, Foreign Affairs, Finance and Home Affairs, along with the Chief of Army Staff. Before making any decisions, however, the analysis of the situation is done by the Secretariat. To support such a serious and sensitive council, the Secretariat was established in Falgun of Nepalese year 2058, with officers from all 4 security agencies. During the armed conflict, the then king established the Secretariat to unify information from the Nepal Army, Nepal Police, Armed Police Force and the National Investigation Department, and to develop a cohesive national security strategy. At present, this crucial mechanism, capable of analyzing regional threats and internal movements that occasionally disrupt religious and communal harmony, has been turned into a dumping ground for officials not favored by the security agencies. Experts argue that instead, skilled and professional human resources should be managed in such an important body to boost morale.
त्यहाँ सुरक्षा परिषदमा बस्ने कर्मचारीलाई पहिलो नम्बरमा उत्प्रेरित हुने वातावरण हामीले सिर्जना गर्नुपर्छ। राष्ट्रिय सुरक्षा परिषदलाई सुदृढ गरेर अनि त्यस मार्फत नै सूचनाहरू परिचालन गर्ने प्रणाली हाम्रो नीति निर्माताहरूलाई जो हुनुहुन्छ अनि शासन सञ्चालनमा उहाँहरूलाई त्यो जाने प्रणाली गर्नुपर्छ।
In the US, UK and even in India, the National Security Council functions as the most powerful mechanism. In Nepal, however, there have been cases where even reports prepared with great effort by the Secretariat are not taken seriously by the government. Every year, the Secretariat's founding day is celebrated. However, not only has this body related to country's security system been neglected, but there is also still no specific law regarding National Security Council. The draft of the Security Act intended to clarify the roles and authority of the Council and its Secretariat, prepared by the Ministry of Defense, is also left in a limbo. Beyond physical threats, the risk stemming from climate change, food security, geographic and cultural disruptions, and even immigration could also impact national securities. And these issues, too, can be studied by the Secretariat to help the country formulate its strategies.
पार्लियामेन्टमा गएर त्यतिबेला राष्ट्रिय सुरक्षा परिषद ऐन भनेर गएर त्यो पनि थन्किएर बसेको अवस्था हो। अब यसलाई एउटा मेरो विचारमा राष्ट्रिय सुरक्षा ऐन नै बनाएर त्यसले चाउडै निकायलाई र अरू निकायहरूलाई पनि कुन कुन कुरामा त्यसले भनेको कुरा लागू हुने भन्ने कुरा त्यसमा लेखेर बनाउन सक्यौं भने हामीले चाहिँ नि अगाडि बढ्न सक्छौं। त्यो ऐनको खाँचो मैले देख्छु।
Security matters in Nepal are gradually becoming more complex. Incidents are happening both in border areas and internally, often linked to political and communal factors. In order to make the existing mechanisms effective, it is imperative on part of the government to enhance the capacity of the National Security Council Secretariat and take its reports seriously. With Pashupati Buradhuki on camera, a report by Ramesh Thamala, Kathmandu.
In our Public Voice segment, we have asked in several provinces what is their take on public representatives repeatedly being linked to financial misconduct. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
जनप्रतिनिधिहरुसँग आधारभूत ज्ञानदेखि यथेष्ट कानुनी कुराहरुको ज्ञानको कमी हुनु अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ सुशासनको डण्डा कमजोर भएर र दोषीहरुमाथि पनि सहजै तरिकाले उम्किने कारणले
राजनीतिको बारेमा नबुझेर अगाडि कुराहरु गर्दाखेरि धेरै कुराहरु कमजोरी हुन्छ हैन त्यो कुरा भयो। अनि दोस्रो कुरा चाहिँ हाम्रो चाहिँ यो कम्पिटिसनको जमाना बढी भयो।
आर्थिक मोह र भ्रष्टाचारमा धेरै ध्यान भएको कारण
राम्रो नेतालाई भनेर हामीले चुनेर पठाएको हैन उहाँहरूले चाहिँ अब भ्रष्टाचार गरेर नराम्रो फैलाउँदाखेरि हामीलाई पनि दुःख लागेको छ।
मेन रिजन भनेको त कार्यकर्ताहरूलाई पाल्नको लागि नै हो।
कुनै पनि चीजलाई पेशाको रूपमा बुझियो भने त्यसलाई फाइदा र घाटा र नाफामा लगिन्छ।
भ्रष्टाचार गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ देशको लागि र जनताको लागि चाहिँ ठीक होइन। यो भ्रष्टाचार गर्दाखेरि अब भ्रष्टाचारी नेताहरूलाई चाहिँ कारबाही
जनप्रतिनिधिको मनपुली र अनुगमनको कमी
हामीले सही नेताहरू चुन्न सकेनौं कि गलत ठाउँमा चाहिँ भोट दिएको हो कि भन्ने महसुस भइरहेछ।
Welcome back. CPN Maoist Center Chairperson Puspa Kamal Dahal stated that village-focused programs are being conducted to raise public awareness of socialism and democracy. Addressing a public gathering in Safe Bagar during the Maoist Center's Mid-Hill Highway campaign launched on May 16, Chair Dahal urged the public to rise decisively to unite society and reject those engaged in corruption and irregularities.
समाजवादको निम्ति समाजवादी क्रान्तिको आधार तयार पार्नको निम्ति जाग्नु पर्ने भएको छ। भ्रष्टहरूलाई कारबाही गर्नको निम्ति जाग्नु पर्ने भएको छ। त्यही अपील गर्न हामी तपाईहरुको अगाडि उपस्थित भएका छौं।
The Maoist Center has emphasized that this campaign will focus on engaging with citizens and addressing local issues. Covering 1,767 kilometers, the highway-focused campaign is expected to be completed within the Nepali month of Jesta. Previously, the Maoist Center conducted a postal highway campaign in the southern Tarai. It is time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse, brought to you by Global College of Management, the first choice for +2 management, Baneshwar, Kathmandu. Global School of Science, an exclusive center of +2 science, Baneshwar, Kathmandu.
But before that, let's take a look at yesterday's poll. Yesterday, we had asked you, Why do you think CPN-UML lawmakers called the participation of Nepali Congress leaders in pre-budget discussions inactive? 41% voted for A, NC's muted dissatisfaction, 39% voted for B, no significance of the discussion, 16% voted for C, conflict lies elsewhere, and 4% voted for D, cannot say. Now here's today's question. Why is the main opposition leader, Pushpa Kamal Dahal, once again embarking on a journey focused on the Mid-Hill Highway? Your options are A, to assess public opinion, B, to pacify cadres, C, using free time, or D, prefer not to comment. The voting is on. Visit www.kantipurtv.com or www.ekantipur.com to share your opinion with us. That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Good night.